our land. Glorious and free. Got two songs going on. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
These are patriotic Canadians.
Oh my God!
You're now attacking the older people.
You guys are disgusting!
Look at this fucking news media. Look. Look. You coward! You sound your
We have nowhere else to go.
My phone dropped.
Practicing
Back there.
I hope it wasn't.
Anybody with us? I see you shaking your head back there. You should be watching this. Take a lesson in courage.
Man, they declared this called the Crusade.
Cowards!
Nazi supporters.
Sound generation theory. Every generation. Law enforcement professionals, huh?
Oh, you got blown up in Afghanistan, eh? And these guys are going to arrest you and push you back when you serve for your country?
Right. You guys keep those mentions. Resign everybody else to serve them. Go for it.
I don't smoke. I'm dying. Your children. You don't know my life. You don't know my struggle. I fought for my shit. I survived the worst. This is nothing.
Tell your boss to stop it, huh?
I've been
Follow
blown
the
up.
law.
Peace and love. And if
No
you think
respect
he
for
does,
human dignity
you're wrong.
whatsoever. We're not livestock to make rich boomers. All serial killers are boomers. I almost said that.
We love you all.
All they want is to be heard.
Can I take a second?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I need a minute.
You are not a surf.
I did surfing once.
We wanted to
oh
do
man, I
the
hurt myself big
SURF
too.
thing.
No. You don't want to go SERF. That's
Oh,
what these
no,
guys
I-
want you to do. They want you to go SERF.
Oh,
Nuremberg 2, boys. Can't wait to see you there.
I don't want to be here.
You guys' grandchildren are going to be born
I'm
in
not trying to be
debt,
home with my wife and kids.
owing a piece of their lives to the state. That's a wounded bastard! That's a wounded bastard! That's a Back up! Stop pushing.
They kicked him in the leg. The RCR guy. They booted him. That was weird. Where's the point? The one who booted him was this one. Kucher Lazon. He kicked the right leg. Kicked him right in the leg.
Oh, he's a grease spot.
This guy right here.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, what's up, guys? How you kicking that while he was down there earlier? You guys are a bunch of thugs, huh? No, not at all. You want the rich guys power right now, huh? Soaking up all the wealth, buying up all the properties, turning millennials into a bunch of permanent renters, reaching into the pockets of the unborn, signing off future children into serfdom. That's you guys. Abusing your citizens, huh? Just follow orders. Just like those yards of Auschwitz. That's you. Right? You just do as you're told, right?
These guys are getting it.
Yeah, so like I said, calling to give you just the courtesy of a heads up that you will receive a letter kind of early next week, letting you know that the bank decided to end their banking relationship with you. The bank determined that this relationship is outside of its risk appetite. So typically we don't call customers in these situations, but I recognize you've been a long time client of the bank, so wanted to call to give you the courtesy of a heads up.
Which part of it is too risky for the bank? Is that my military pension?
I'm afraid I don't have any other details.
So they just send you. They just send the messenger guy right on.
Just the messenger here. So sorry about that. And just to let you know, so your branch was just made aware of the news this afternoon. So and again, they don't have any further information. There was a decision made at the head office. And
the head office. Who would that be?
You know what I'm going to say, right? Whoever it is, I'll bet my next pension check that was a boomer. And for those of you who haven't heard me say that before, I just want to remind everybody that we're in our fourth turning. A fourth turning is a crisis era that lasts for a generation, typically 22 years. Ours started in 2008 with the global financial collapse, culminated in the 2020 civilizational crisis of leadership, not health. And that's what a fourth turning is. It's a leadership crisis. What happens is the generation that's born in the wake of the previous crisis is indulged by their parents who surmount that previous great crisis and usher in the next era of the Enlightenment, build the institutions to new heights, all for the children. And when the children become elders, they tyrannize us. So that's the boomer right there. They're tyrants, and tyrants are petty. So that's what's happening here.
I don't have any other information in terms of names or anything like that.
Why would anybody want to be accountable for anything? That would be foolish. Sorry, continue, please.
Pardon me?
I said sorry, continue, please.
Okay. I understand the frustration. So also as part of ending the...
And Colleen is saying, Jeff, maybe once or twice, LOL. I'm at the point that I don't like boomers, and I am one. Yeah, it's not like generational archetypical bigotry or anything like that. I'm talking about a social trend. So I always point that out, guys. It's a social trend, not a social rule. And I love all my boomers.
Relationship. So as of today, you're not to visit any of the Scotiabank branches or bank premises in person without first getting written consent in advance from the bank, from management. So
I'm banned from the bank.
You first have to just reach out and get written consent before you physically come onto any bank premises as part of ending the...
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that there's no reason given for that either, and no one's accountable, and there's no one to call for that.
I'm afraid, I don't have any other information beyond that. Yeah, again, I know there's lots you can do online. Obviously, I'm sure you bank online already, but you're welcome to email your branch if there's anything you need help with.
I can email them, but I can't go and speak to them in person without written consent.
Exactly. So you can email the branch. You can talk about figuring out a way if there's anything you need to do. Yeah, but you'll need to email them first. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot I need to do. I have mortgages and vehicle loans and business, like.
Yep.
And this is effective when? Like right now?
So, no. So the way it will work, so you'll receive the letter, and then you will have 30 days from when you get the letter before your accounts will be closed. So it's not that your accounts will be closed immediately. The letter will spell out kind of the details of how things will work and next steps for each of your accounts. So you'll get more detail there, and that should answer most of your questions. Definitely recommend kind of that you start sooner than later looking for a different bank or alternative arrangements with another institution.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yep. Okay. But again, and so you'll have detail in the letter on each of your accounts and how things will. So, and you should have the letter. I expect it would arrive probably Monday or Tuesday. You should have it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the gist of it there. That's a 7.5 minute video. That's 3.5 minutes of it. That's over there on Greg Wycliffe's channel on YouTube. So go ahead and give him a follow. I think everybody's at least heard about what's been going on over the weekend here by now. So let's dive right into it here. First of all, here's our meme from Veterans for Freedom. This is at Vets for Free Canada on Twitter, and says, regardless of someone's politics, religious beliefs, or whatever side they're on, let me get full screen, or whatever side they're on, when they're treated unfairly by the state, bureaucrats, MSM, elites, or large corporations, we should bulwark around that person and push back against whatever entity is in the wrong. Hashtag boycott Scotiabank. And I think the trend, yeah, here it is over here in the right, trending in Canada, Scotiabank. So it was hashtag boycott Scotiabank, and right now it's at Scotiabank. We're looking at about just under 6,000 tweets right now. It was at about 6,500 earlier today, so that's pretty big for Canada. I think you know what, a lot of people are really pissed about that. So yeah, the good news is we're furious. Okay. Oh. Okay, here's the Rebel News article. Just a reminder to everybody that this is from 30 May 2022, so it's a while ago. But here is the article that says, Scotiabank apologizes to Freedom Convoy organizer for freezing bank account. Please accept our sincere apologies for the frustration and inconvenience this situation may have caused. Scotiabank wrote to Freedom Convoy organizer BJ Dichter. So just a reminder, yeah, these are the folks that went way out over their skis and started locking up people's finances during the Freedom Convoy. And you know, the Emergencies Act, it was revoked in the end anyway. So we're still waiting on what the justification for that was. And here's the Ocean Cowboy. Go give him a follow on Twitter there. He's a bit of a puke, so I like to look what the other side is saying. And he says maybe Scotiabank should take a look see at Jeremy McKenzie's live stream from tonight. His thought experiment involves bank fraud. Now that's not true. This is from January 20th, so that came out a little bit later.
100,000 people withdraw all of their money from the bank, or preemptively. First, they get lines of credit.
Let me back that up.
I wonder how many people it would take, just as a thought experiment. Somebody do the math on this. What would happen if, let's say, given an average, what kind of average would you need? I don't know. 10,000 people. Let's make it interesting. 100,000 people, which is like a lofty but possible goal for activists. 100,000 people withdraw all of their money from the bank or preemptively. First, they get lines of credit, the biggest ones they can that they'll be allowed, credit cards, credit, all of that. They burn through all of it, withdraw it, cash, gold, coins, whatever. Spend all of it, spend all their money, withdraw everything they have. They go back to the bank and say, "I'm never paying you. Suck my dick. I declare bankruptcy. Bye." What would happen?
Okay. So, yeah, and Carol is saying, I'm so sick to my stomach over this, and this can happen to any one of us. Scary times. Yeah, we're living through a very dark period in our history, but two things everybody's got to remember when the chips are down. Number one, it can always get worse. And number two, listen, I'm forgetting my own advice right now, but it's chips down. I'll get back to there. All right. Not going so well here. So, but look, it can always get worse. That's the thing. So whatever you do, don't do anything to make it worse. And really, like, well, hang on. I think this could take a really positive turn, actually.
All right.
So here's Mark Friesen. Mark Friesen was a PPC candidate, and also he was one of those Alberta provincial candidates. I'm trying to remember which one, but yeah, he's here. He is on TikTok.
Social credit
Grizzly Patriot on YouTube
has begun in Canada. Jeremy Mackenzie, a veteran of our Canadian military, served in Afghanistan with distinction and honor, happens to be critical of the government and effective in that criticism. And now, because of social credit, Jeremy Mackenzie can no longer bank where at the financial institution where his mortgage is, where his car payments come out of. They decided to end their relationship because his views don't align with the bank's views, I guess. So they've terminated that relationship, leaving Jeremy high and dry, searching for another financial institution that can take over his mortgage, take over his car payments. I don't know. He can't access his account. Is this what you want? The reality of this situation is anybody, this could be anyone who's critical of the government, who opposes the government. They've partnered with banks to force you to toe the line, to force you to comply.
That is fascism in a nutshell there, folks. It's the lucrative merger of corporation and state, and that's what we're seeing happen organically. Like it doesn't happen like they come out and declare, okay, we're fascists now. It happens organically over the course basically of a human lifetime. If you're familiar with Strauss-Howe generational theory and how, say, Stalinism came to rule, Stalin didn't do it overnight. He did it over the course of his lifetime. He had a lot of help from his peers. They did a purge of the military ranks like we've seen here in Canada. And it's not necessarily, it's not really that it's all necessarily that they're getting together and having meetings and there's a conspiracy to make this happen. It's just that they're all looking out for their own interests and they all know how to cover each other's asses. And that's basically what's happening.
And never oppose the government. Just imagine what we're living under right now. That's social credit. That's communism. It's here. Buckle up.
Yep, he's right. So it is social credit. And the Chinese system really is more like a fascist system. It's like a communist oligarchy where the people in charge are directing everything. The chairman, the Central Council. So they're directing everything, And the entrepreneurs, the corporations, and the CEOs, they're allowed to pursue their own interests and make tons of money for the regime. And if the regime gives them a tap here and there to do something for them, then they're, obliged to do that. And there was that case a few years ago. I can't recall the guy's name at the time, but he was very prominent tycoon over in Asia there, a Chinese man. And he didn't even criticize the government, but he said something that was sort of insufficiently flattering of Xi Jinping. And then he was disappeared. So that's, I'm not saying that somebody's going to get disappeared at Scotiabank, but we can see like this is the direction that we're going in. It happens organically. It's a question of authoritarian leadership culture. Somebody, I'm talking about the fourth turning here, and somebody was just commenting. They said Doings on YouTube says temporary. Yeah, that's my own advice. There's two things you got to remember when the chips are down. Number one, it's only temporary. And number two, it can always get worse. So whatever you do, don't do anything to make it worse. And that's the thing about a fourth turning is it is only temporary. Realistically, the authors of Strauss-Howe generational theory, they're forecasting an end to this fourth turning somewhere between 2026 and 2030. And that's for it's an American theory. So, but it seems to be applicable more or less globally, as far as I'm able to infer. Anyway, we're scheduled to come out in a few years, and the kinds of recommendations that they give in the fourth turning, it's basically everything that people on this channel are already doing. Stocking up on food, preparing for prolonged blackouts, supply chain shortages, that kind of thing. Going back to owning chickens, sustainable living. So if you're already in that mindset, then you're halfway there. Okay, so this is Derek at Derek Rants on Twitter, and he's a friend of Jeremy's. That they do a lot of group chats and stuff like that on Telegram. So, and he's a pretty talented guy too. He's a good commentator, and he does some music and stuff like that too. So. He says, Canadian decorated war veteran Jeremy Mackenzie gets debanked, but people like Karla Homolka, Sharif Abdullahim, and Benjamin Levin all still have bank accounts. Canada is a banana republic. Get out while you still can. I made the decision to stay and fight for this land that I bled for. So that was really my mindset when it was either Florida or it was back to Cape Breton, and I was like, man. I bled for this land. Like, I don't see why these commie bastards should get it. So here I am. And all right, I'll let Derek go here. A couple of language warnings here and there.
Just leaving the grocery store, and I want to try and put into perspective what's going on with Jeremy Mackenzie, because there's some people out there cheering on the fact that he got debanked. Okay? He can't buy groceries for his children. Pay the lease payment.
That mortgage is also for the house in which his children live. So this is cruel. This is absolutely inhumane.
It's on his truck. Pay the mortgage in the house that his kids live in. But yet, the likes of Karla Homolka, convicted murderer, still gets a bank account. Sharif Abdullahim, the leader of the Toronto 18, convicted terrorist, still has a bank account. Benjamin Levin, a convicted pedophile who wrote the school curriculum, still has a bank account. So this isn't about morality or what's wrong or right, is it? It's about punishing somebody that speaks out against the government. That's all it is. Jeremy has not been convicted of any of the accusations that have been levied against him. He's not guilty about anything. A decorated war veteran is being debanked in Canada, and some of you are cheering this on. You're cheering on your own enslavement. Get out of this fucking country. It's going to shit.
Well, he's half right. But like I said, it's only temporary. And I've been showing a lot of signs of things turning. That things are kind of are turning a little faster than I think they were forecasted to, actually. And I saw Neil Howe. He's the chief author, I guess. He's the demographer behind Strauss-Howe generational theory, which is a theory of changing demographics. And there are 4 generational archetypes that just keep repeating. And the generational archetype that the boomers follow is that of the prophet, and my read of the theory, at least, is that is the character, the megalomaniac that keeps recurring in the Old Testament, whether it's the prophets, right? It's all the prophets, like Abraham, Moses, Muhammad, all the way back to Yahweh. So every time they show up, it's hard times for the rest of us. And look what's happening, right? It's democide. Noah's another one, elder prophet with a long gray beard. It sounds a little bit out there, but when you get into it and you see how much like data and history and literature is really into it, really went into it, it's compelling. So, come on, computer. Yeah. Okay, and here's the Western Standard. So this is good, I think. This is good attention for Jeremy right now. Western Standard is a very, mainstream publication. So it says, Diagolon leader Jeremy Mackenzie is debanked by Scotiabank. And this is by Matthew Horwood. It says, Canadian Armed Forces veteran and Diagolon leader Jeremy Mackenzie has been debanked from Scotiabank and banned from entering any of its branches. Quote, I have 30 days to find alternative means of financing mortgage on the home where my children live and everything else you could just imagine. Close quote. Mackenzie said on a Facebook post on Friday. Quote, no, they won't give a reason. No, there's no appeal process. I'm not even allowed to step foot in any branch location. But hey, is Jordan Peterson's Twitter account in danger? Close quote. In a phone call with the bank teller that Mackenzie ordered, posted online, he was told that he would receive a letter informing him that Scotiabank had terminated their relationship. Quote, the bank has determined this relationship is outside of its risk appetite, close quote, the teller said. So that's a feeling too. I wanted to point that out. They've decided that it's outside of their risk appetite. So that's not decided on by law, any kind of policy criteria. And we have certain principles of procedural fairness in Canada under administrative law that flows from the common law, goes all the way back to that. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Mackenzie was arrested by the RCMP back in September after he was charged over the summer with assault, pointing a firearm, mischief, and using a restricted weapon in a careless manner. He was granted bail and released from Saskatchewan prison back in November. And another thing, the risk appetite, if it's something like this, if it's the charges that he has pending against him, without getting into the details of any of the cases, what I can say is that, discrimination on the basis of a conviction for which you have received a pardon is explicitly stated as prohibited grounds under the Canadian Human Rights Act. And this guy hasn't even been convicted. So this sounds like if this is what forms the basis of the debanking, then it's prohibited grounds for discrimination under the Canadian Human Rights Act. Just a note on that. Morgan May, Mackenzie's girlfriend, previously told the Western Standard the incident that led to his arrest was, quote, fabricated, close quote, and there was never any firearm involved. Mackenzie and his group Diagolon, which is based off of a fictional and satirical country stretching from Alaska to Florida, have been through a slew of controversies over the past few years. The incidents range from the crude statements Mackenzie and his followers have made during live streams to Diagolon patches that were found alongside firearms during the border blockade in Coutts, Alberta in early 2022, to a meeting with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, and he's obviously Carleton. And so the patches, that's not like trademarked, I don't believe. So anybody could have made those patches. While the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, speak of the devil, while the Canadian Anti-Hate Network has called Diagolon a far-right accelerationist group, Mackenzie has repeatedly explained that Diagolon is a, quote, joke country, close quote, and the mainstream media, Liberal and NDP politicians and RCMP have exaggerated the threat his group poses, because it doesn't pose a threat. There's no threat. Mackenzie was not given any specific reasons as to why his Scotiabank account is being shut down. Mackenzie was told he has 30 days from the time he receives a letter from Scotiabank until his account is closed. But the veteran is also banned from visiting any Scotiabank branches in person without first getting written consent from the bank. Quote, so just to recap, I'm being debanked, I'm banned from the bank, and there are no reasons given. There's nobody to contact, and that's it. Is that right? Close quote. Mackenzie asked the bank teller. Quote, there will be some contact information in the letter. Close quote. The bank teller responded, quote, if there is anything you need to help in terms of your accounts, you can email your branch and discuss it with them. I understand your frustration, close quote. So, yeah, we saw the conversation for ourselves. You can check that out over at the Western Standard. But good job, guys, for picking that up, and they picked it up quick. So that's one of these things that I like to point to as a sign that things are moving in a positive direction. They're starting to turn. So here's another one of these signs. This is Palminder Singh. This is Jagmeet Singh's brother, and he is great. So give him a follow on Twitter if you're not, at Palminder1990. And he says, our fellow Canadian is in trouble because he is very outspoken about our government. Scotiabank decides to shut down his bank account. It's not just him, it's all of us in trouble. When are we going to stand with each other without differences? Yeah, I would have to agree there. And, there's a lot of polarizing dogma flying around out there. You have to understand that a lot of that is part of the PSYOP, and they're trying to pit us against each other and, and making it hard for people in the freedom movement to go here. So here's Palminder, and he's great.
So maybe it's gonna be tomorrow's breaking news on mainstream media, maybe not. Our fellow freedom fighter Jeremy Mackenzie, he received a call from Scotiabank that they are going to shut down his bank account, like they are going to debank him, and he's going to receive a letter, and within 30 days they are going to shut down his Scotiabank account, and his mortgage and his payments, everything is going through that account. So do you think another banks are going to give him a new account? No, right? Because every other bank is under your one Canadian government, right? So how is he going to deal with this financial situation he's in? And if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. Maybe to me, to you, to anybody. They're just setting the example that this is what they're gonna do if you start speaking against the system. And we've seen so many other hardcore criminals, drug dealers in the society. Nobody debanked them. Nobody shut down their bank accounts. So what is really happening here? It's total tyranny. And figure it out, people, and raise some funds, and let's pay off his house, pay off his cars and stuff, if we can help him. And we need to boycott these banks. Need to start thinking. Well, I know we have people, they're intelligent, they can start the banking system. All we need a unity. Either you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, you like Jeremy or you don't like Jeremy. He needs your help. It's not just Jeremy, like every Canadian needs your help. It's not just a Jeremy's family in trouble. It's all Canadians are in trouble because we are all one family. Thank you.
So very well said, I think. And that is the point that everybody's driving home. So I will too. Yeah, I mean, if they can do it to him, they can do it to any of us. And not only that, but we're talking about a decorated war veteran. He's a sacrifice medal recipient, wounded in action. So he's a hero of this country who's done no harm to anyone. And look at what they're doing to him. Now, what do you think they'll do to somebody who perhaps doesn't have that exemplary service record, right? And you know what I'll say, though, is I do think a lot of this is directed at veterans. I think that it's directed at Canada's heroes, and we see the attack on police too. I'm not going to defend them too hard, though, after Ottawa. Yeah, I mean, the critical race theory being inflicted on the Canadian Armed Forces in the wake of George Floyd. I mean, the fentanyl overdose of George Floyd, and the Canadian media went out looking for their George Floyd, and they found a couple of videos of some rough arrests of Indigenous people. And one of them was like a chief who got in a karate stance and invited the attending officer to go fisticuffs. And when his backup arrived, he took him down hard and gave him a few compliance blows. So yeah, the media hyped all that to get the critical race theory in there. And then we saw that psyop with respect to the Kamloops commie color revolution connection, which is a pretty standard psyop that's been employed elsewhere in other countries quite successfully. So anyway, yeah, I do think that a lot of it is directed at us, at veterans, and also like everybody is saying, if they're doing this to us, like one would expect that they would be reluctant to do so, just for a risk of inflaming the public. So if they're doing it to us, they'll do it to anybody. And here is Paul Minder again. He's saying, listen to Jeremy's conversation with Scotiabank. Thanks to at GDDub for posting this. Time to hashtag boycott Scotiabank. To contact Jeremy, go to ragingdissident.com and watch the video here. And this is the same video that I showed in the opening here. Greg Wycliffe, go give him a follow over there on YouTube. And yeah, what I like about this is Palminder Singh, and he's got like 51.8K views already on this. So that's a lot. That's incredible for, a Canadian trend. And here's Viva Frey, and good job on him. He says, I've never done this before. I started a Give, Send, Go for Jeremy McKenzie, a Canadian veteran who was just debanked by Scotiabank. All money goes to Jeremy, and I put my money where my mouth is. And here's the Give, Send, Go link. It's givesendgo.com/McKenzie. Let this be a collective middle finger to Justin Trudeau. Share away. So yeah, I gave it a share, obviously. So yeah, Viva went out and started a Give, Send, Go for Jeremy, and here it is right here. So go check that out. Donate. He's got a goal set of $150,000. They're already at 17,845 at the time of this live stream. So looking good. That's over 10% already, and we just started. So yeah, let's give that collective middle finger to the Trudeau regime and pay off Jeremy's house. That's what I said. He deserves it, man. Jesus. So Jeremy McKenzie's Give, Send, Go campaign just broke $10,000. So I just showed you it was already well beyond that. So doing good. It's already trending. So here are the documents. This is the letter that he was sent. Let me back this up to the first page. So this is from the Bank of Nova Scotia, and Viva was posting this with permission. It says the Bank of Nova Scotia has decided to terminate one or more aspects of our banking relationship with you, as noted below. We recommend you take immediate steps to make alternative banking arrangements with another financial institution. Please note that effective immediately, all deposits in non-cash nature made to your accounts will be subject to a 4 business day hold after the day of the deposit, unless certified. Please refer to our day-to-day banking companion booklet located on our website at Scotiabank and blah, blah, blah. So they're talking about all deposits of a non-cash nature made to your accounts will be subject to a 4 business day hold. It makes me wonder if that has anything to do with maybe something that's coming in from his live streams, because people will give him the super chats and whatnot. So maybe it's got something to do with that. I don't know, but they're going after his income, and this is, this doesn't seem to be the result of any kind of legal process or ruling. So at the close of business on February 28, 2023, any remaining unheld balance in your accounts will be converted to a bank draft and delivered by registered mail to your address, and as indicated above. Any amount to which a hold is applicable will be forwarded upon expiration of the hold. Any overdraft as of this date must be paid in full immediately. Any overdraft that is not paid in full as of this date will be charged interest at a rate of 21% per annum. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a credit card rate. You may choose to close your accounts at any time, blah, blah, blah. And Let's see what they got here. Now they don't really get into anything about like the reasons for this, but I'll just blow through a few paragraphs here. We will not accept any further contributions to your Scotia TFSA account. Okay, that's not really applicable. We will not accept further contributions to your RSP. We'll ask that you consult a financial advisor of another financial institution to arrange the transfer of your mutual funds to an investment account that other financial at that other financial institution. Effective February 28, 2023, your credit privileges on your Scotia Momentum Visa card will be terminated and you will no longer be able to make purchases or take cash advances. The effective interest rate and required minimum payment to this indebtedness may be subject to change, and you will be so advised by separate notice. Isn't that great? Effective February 28, 2023, your credit privileges on your Scotia Line personal line credit will be terminated, and you will no longer be able to write checks or to take advantage using the account, including advances with any Scotia Line access. Okay. And so here's the mortgage. We'll note that the existing term measures go to November 15, 2024. We advise that the bank will not be prepared to accept a further renewal of the term, and full payment of the entire balance outstanding will be required on the maturity date. We suggest you seek alternative financing well in advance of your maturity date. Yeah, no kidding. In the interim, you're responsible to continue making regular payments on your mortgage balance. This can be done by completing the enclosed form, which authorizes the bank to debit your account with another financial institution. Effective February 28th, 2023, your overdraft protection will be terminated. Any overdraft, blah, blah, blah. Should you have any questions concerning the above, please do not hesitate to contact us via email. Escalated concerns. There we go. All right. Escalated concerns at scotiabank.com or by phone 1-877-700-0043. There you go. And one more thing. Here is he's banned from the premises here. It says, take notice that you are not to enter onto these premises of the bank, including any of its lands, buildings, or structures, or any other Scotiabank branches or locations from this date forward without first obtaining the written permission of management, and that you may be arrested by the occupier or by the police with authority and may be subject to prosecution. Yeah, that's Canada, folks. Okay, but here comes Jeremy. Always defiant.
To help us expedite your call, please key in or say your Scotia card or credit card number. All right. Choose the option that best matches your request. To report a lost or stolen card, press 1. To open a new account, press 2. Sure. To open a new personal account, press 1. Okay. Please hold as I transfer your call to one of our representatives.
Hi, sir. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Hi, my name's Jeremy McKenzie. I'd like to open a bank account.
All right. You want to open an account?
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not the Jeremy McKenzie who's a Canadian veteran. I'm not that guy. I want to open another account.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. All right.
Yeah, I'm not the Jeremy McKenzie who's stood up for people's rights. That's not me. I'm a different one. So I hope it's okay that I have an account.
Do you have an account with us?
I don't have an account with you. Lately, Scotiabank's been canceling all the Jeremy McKenzie accounts, and I need to get myself a bank account. Don't worry, though. I'm not the Jeremy McKenzie who's just like a really nice guy and who's been targeted by the state. I'm a different Jeremy McKenzie.
All right. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. Jeremy, I'm going to try to set up an appointment for you, okay?
Well, can we talk about it right now? I'd love to get a bank account. My name again is Jeremy McKenzie. I don't have a bank account with Scotiabank.
Right, Jeremy. Let me try to contact with sales department, okay?
That'd be great. Can you let them know I'm not the Jeremy McKenzie who's been targeted by the state unfairly for speaking up for people's basic human rights? I'm a different Jeremy McKenzie.
All right, Jeremy, I'm going to provide the information for sales department, okay?
That's wonderful. Let them know Jeremy McKenzie, the former Canadian veteran with a pension that basically guarantees there's going to be money in that account every month. I'm not that guy. I'm a different guy.
Okay. Jeremy, please stay with me. I'm going to set up the appointment for you, okay?
That sounds great. That's again Jeremy McKenzie, not the guy who's an internet streamer, a different one.
Thank you for the confirmation, Jeremy. Jeremy?
Yes?
Jeremy, I'm going to transfer the call with the sales department, okay?
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure. Jeremy?
Yes?
Jeremy, so sorry. In this moment, the waiting time is up to 15 minutes. If you want to wait or call us again, or you're able also to make.
I would love to call you again. What's the phone number where I can call you again?
Right, it's the same number that you already call us, Jeremy.
That's great. I'll call back again. Me, Jeremy McKenzie.
All right, Jeremy.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Inclusion makes us stronger. Scotiabank. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So well done. And Gary's saying Rob Primo is a hoot. So I gather that's Rob Primo. And I guess I'm not up on my Primo like you are. But yeah, great job on the video, man. And I wanted to throw to Diane because she says that the BMO and Kelowna canceled my bank account and my credit cards, which I had just paid off because I wouldn't wear a mask, and acted in front of everyone. I imagine acted out in front of everyone, I suppose, to humiliate me. Doesn't work well. I just made it me more determined, having been a bad wife many years ago. Yeah, and I would definitely raise hell if anybody was ever trying to do that kind of thing with me. I'll get into some stuff that I usually throw at people when I'm in this situation near the end here. So hang on. I got some tactics for you. Okay. Oh, this is my search, but here is, I was looking for banking laws in Canada. So this is the Bank Act of Canada. And here is when a bank refuses to open a bank account for you. So wait a second. Let me make sure I got my references straight here. This is, okay. So this is Government of Canada. This is a website from the Financial Consumer Agency in Canada. I got the Bank Act coming up here, but opening a personal bank account, know your rights. And so this is refuses to open a bank account. So not necessarily closing a bank account. That doesn't even appear to be addressed here. Perhaps not surprisingly, I think we're in unprecedented territory. So when a bank refuses to open a bank account for you, a bank may refuse to open a personal bank account for you if they have reasonable grounds to believe you plan to use the account for illegal or fraudulent purposes. You've had a history of illegal or fraudulent activity with the financial service providers in the last 7 years. They have reasonable grounds to believe you knowingly made false statements in the information you gave. They have reasonable grounds to believe it's necessary to protect their customers or employees from physical harm, harassment, or other abuse. The branch or point of service only offers accounts linked to an existing account with another financial institution, and you don't have one. You don't allow them to take steps to verify that the identification you presented is valid. If the bank refuses to open a personal bank account for you, they must inform you in writing. They must also disclose to you their procedure for dealing with complaints, the name of the external complaints body of which they're a member, and how to contact that ECB, Financial Consumer Agency of Canada's mailing address, website address, and telephone number. So there you go. Along those lines, it's not directly for the closure of bank accounts. I don't think that they address that. And we have Pauline here, and she says there used to be a law that everyone has access to basic banking. It was repealed in 2022. How convenient. Now, I wasn't able really to dig that up. So take that with a grain of salt. But I was able to dig up the Bank Act here. And here we have part 12.2. And it says dealings with customers and the public continued. So here's fair and equitable dealings. This is under Division 2. Responsible business conduct. General requirements. False misleading. Okay, wait a second. Now, so obligations of the institution. If a person notifies an institution that they are canceling, okay, so this is mostly what they're canceling. Now, I had something. One second. Because I think it's close to the bottom here. Bear with me, folks. I probably had it highlighted. Okay, here's access to banking services, retail deposit accounts. This is it. Okay, and a retail deposit account, as far as I can tell, is just a regular deposit account that that a person makes deposits into, as opposed to a corporation. So here we have subject to subsection 2, a member bank shall, at any point of service or any branch in Canada at which it opens a retail deposit accounts through natural persons, open a retail deposit account on the request made there in person of a natural person who, A, presents to the member bank 2 documents from a reliable source, one of which indicates the person's name and address, and the other person, so ID, identification issued. So it says that we have access to these, access to banking services. And so if the member bank so requests, consents to the member's banks verifying whether any of the circumstances set out in paragraphs 627, blah, 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 applies to the person, and the member bank's verifying the documents presented in person. If the member bank, based on its verification of the circumstances set out in paragraphs 627, or the documents presented by the person based on the information provided by the person in connection with the request, has reasonable grounds to suspect that person is misrepresenting their identity, presents to the member bank a piece of identification used by the government of Canada or the government of a province that bears the person's photograph and signature. And if the member bank is a federal credit union, so request becomes a member of the bank and meets any criteria. So we do have this on the books here under the Bank Act that says that a member bank shall, at any point of service or branch. So shall is a strong word in legalese. That means that this will happen. Usually when they say things like must, it's more like the must is conditional on something else. But when they say shall, that means no conditions. Like, this is what happens. So there's that. And so I pulled this up because Jeremy is in Nova Scotia, as am I. And here we have the Human Rights Act amended for Nova Scotia. And I want to go down to the prohibited grounds. This is a little bit different than the format that I saw it in previously, but these are complaints, and I believe it's... Okay. So these are on the complaint side of things. All right, this doesn't look like it's the right document. It's not the one that I'm looking for. But what I want to point out here, what I wanted to point out here was that the Nova Scotia Human Rights Act, I'm going to try it again, is... one of the prohibited grounds under the Nova Scotia Human Rights Act is political belief, affiliation, or activity. Try this again. I think my search engine is taking me in the wrong direction here, but so I'm not seeing, I guess, the right format here. This is the one that I was just looking at. But this is just all the amendments and stuff like that. So, man, I was just looking at that earlier, though. All right, but political beliefs, affiliation, or activity is under the Nova Scotia Human Rights Act as prohibited grounds for discrimination. So take my word on that. Just wouldn't be my show without a blooper. So this Article 19 is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So let's take a look at that. Article 19, and we are a party state to this treaty. Give you a full screen. Okay, Article 19. says everyone shall have the right to hold opinions without interference. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds, regardless of frontiers, either orally, in print, in writing, or in print, in the form of art, or through any other media of his choice. Now, having said all of that, take a look at what's been happening on social media in particular, which would fall into any other media of his choice. So we all have a right to express ourselves on these platforms, and they don't have a right to discriminate, at least not in the province of Nova Scotia, on the basis of political belief, affiliation, or activity. And then we have the exercise of the rights provided in paragraph 2 of this article carries with it special duties and responsibilities. It may therefore be subject to certain restrictions, but these shall only be such as are provided by law and are necessary, A, for respect of the rights or reputations of others, and B, for protection of national security or of public order, or of public health or morals. So those are all those kinds of restrictions would already be written down in law, and we're guaranteed these kinds of fundamental freedoms and charter rights under the Constitution. It says that the state can't restrict us in this regard. And the reasonableness is what's key here. So when we're talking about for respect of the rights or reputations of others, defamation laws are a thing. So your freedom of speech does not extend to that. There's a restriction on that. And for the protection of national security, obviously I can't share national secrets with you guys. And or of public order, incitement is prohibited speech, and or of public health or morals. That sounds pretty broad, but really, at the end of the day, this is already written down somewhere in Canadian law if it exists, if such a restriction exists. So these are, like I said, these are UN treaties. This is the General Assembly Resolution 2200 Alpha, and Canada is a party state to this UN covenant right here. And just a few paragraphs here to give you an idea here from the preamble. It says, the state parties to the present covenant, considering that in accordance with the principles proclaimed in the Charter of the United Nations, recognition of the inherent dignity and of all equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world, recognizing that these rights derive from the inherent dignity of the human person, recognizing that in accordance with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the ideal of free human beings enjoying civil and political freedom and freedom from fear and want can only be achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his civil and political rights as well as his economic, social, and cultural rights. So, it's worth reflecting on a lot of what we've been through over the last couple of years in light of that last paragraph there. Carrying on, considering the obligation of the states under the Charter of the United Nations to promote universal respect for and observance of human rights and freedoms, realizing that the individual having duties to other individuals and to the community to which he belongs is under a responsibility to strive for the promotion and observance of the rights recognized in the present covenant. Agree upon the following articles. And I gave you the Article 19 there that applies, that I believe applies here. So I really that really kind of resonated here when I came on this part. The ideal of free human beings enjoying. So we recognize this as a party nation. We recognize the ideal of free human beings enjoying civil and political freedom, and freedom from fear and want can only be achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his civil and political rights as well as his economic, social, and cultural rights. Pardon the phallocentrism there, ladies, but it's the UN. That's just the same. That's the video back at the start here. And okay. So that wraps it up for me, folks. I just wanted to throw in the human rights piece because I have been making that case. I've been working all day and night here on some of my charter challenges and trying to self-represent for some arrests that I suffered while there's defying mask mandates here in my hometown of Sydney, Nova Scotia. And it's pretty clear to me that like conscientious objection to the imposition of these religious mask mandates. It really is an article of faith to believe that you're really doing anything to help anyone by putting that thing on. You know, and I have religious freedom. I have freedom of conscience. I'm a skeptic. They have obligations under things like you know, administrative law in Canada, and these are pretty broadly stated principles. But decision makers have duties to give reasons in circumstances like this, and they'll only suffice where the reasons are adequate. So that's why we have all of these statutes on the books, like the Bank Act, where these things are outlined. And as you can see in the letter that we showed here, there's no reference to any of that. There's no what they say is that it's beyond their risk appetite, and that is a banker speak for you know, their emotional reaction. So it's arbitrary. It's arbitrary and it's capricious, and arbitrarity and caprice are central to the essence of totalitarianism. As Christopher Hitchens once said. Okay, I'll throw to a couple of comments before I sign off on here, guys. But we have a serious human rights crisis, I think, here in Canada, and but the good news is more and more people are waking up to it, and we all owe Jeremy, I think, a debt of gratitude for the awareness that he's brought to this issue. And we'll see here. Colleen says, "Hey Jeff, I sure hope those charges get dropped. Seems to be a trend. Stay strong." Yeah, I think at this point you just got to be in it for the fight. I keep saying that you know, we're not going to win this war in a single battle. That's just not the way it works. We're not going to get it all done in one fell swoop. It's going to be a long, bloody slog over the course of a few years here. And you know, I say bloody, of course, metaphorically, because it's going to be very unpleasant. But ultimately, the democratic process and the legal process is a bulwark to revolution, and that's what has happened over the course of the human history. Is that our elders accrue power and wealth throughout the course of their lifetime, and then use that power and wealth to dominate us, as the boomers are doing right now. And and what ends up happening, like Freud said in Moses and Monotheism, that in nature we overthrow our elders, and that and then we eat them. In a ceremony that was known as the totem feast when we were hunter-gatherers and we worshiped the totem. And that's when the sons, and the son is an archetype, they're expressing a generation. The sons partake in the body of the father. So yeah, that's what they would do. They would overthrow their elders and then eat them. That was their just desserts for the way when they used to create scarcity and starvation. And Marion is saying, praying for you and all the other veterans. Thanks, Marion. We really appreciate the support. You know, and it's a hell of a thing, especially for Jeremy, like to be out here doing this. And it's just a tremendous amount of pressure, and he must be an incredibly stress resilient guy. And I'll tell you that his sense of humor probably has everything to do with how well that he's coping. And black humor is there's nothing blacker than a soldier's humor. So it's a coping strategy. So, and Sir Alexander is saying it's insane, Jeremy's letter. Yeah, I know. And it's the same thing across the board. We're seeing this. There was a Court of Appeals decision here in Nova Scotia to hear the appeal for the injunction that was imposed to stop a protest here on Citadel Hill against the province's mandates. And what's coming out of some of the submissions here is that Dr. Strang really doesn't have a leg to stand on in the way of empirical evidence. He makes these vague assertions about how evidence has come out since that this can and that may, but really, even the justices are asking, well, what is the risk? What is the risk of outdoor transmission? Is it 1%? Is it 10%? Have you contract traced anything, any outdoor transmission? No, of course they haven't. So yeah, it's all arbitrary. It's capricious. And none of the folks that are making decisions right now really have any leg to stand on. It's just a matter of the process catching up to them. So in the meantime, folks, stay frosty and stay safe out there.